Hello, welcome to Moonbasket Knits. My name is August. My pronouns are he, him, and this is going to be my knitting podcast. I have I've filmed attempts of a couple knitting podcasts now, but I've figured out kind of more of the vibe that I want to go for. I want to create a space where I can be myself and share that with you and elevate trans joy and disabled joy and show off the work that I do with fiber arts, which is one of the main things that I do right now because of my disabilities. I've been posting them on Instagram and Tumblr for a little while, and I thought it would be fun to do YouTube stuff, but I have to maintain that within my pacing and keep things chill. So I can't get too excited or too amped because I got to keep my energy level chill. So if you want to listen while I talk about the stuff that I've been knitting in the month of May, then grab your project or whatever you want and come sit with me. We're going to do the standard setup for the podcast. So I'm going to talk about my finished objects for the month, my whips for the month, any new acquisitions, my plans for the month of June, and then I am also going to do a T for T artist shout out. So I am a transgender crafter and I want to shout out other trans folks working in this space and sharing their stuff online, because I don't have any other videos to direct you to, as this is my first one, and there are some cool people putting cool stuff out there, and we gotta support each other. So first, we're gonna start with my finished objects. The first finished object that I have for you is my first, major test knit. It is the Tiptoe Tulip socks by Niklas. They are a non-binary knitting designer and yarn dyer based out of Sweden. I have two, but this is the blocked one. And then this is the unblocked one. So pretty scrungly. The socks are really cute. They have this lovely little scalloped detail at the toe, so it's like your foot is in a tulip leaf or a tulip flower, and that just makes me so happy every time I have them on. And then there are little dots, little polka dots across the top, and then you probably can't see it, but there is the 2x2 rib at the top also has three little cable rows, which actually don't make the ribbing too tight. It's still nice and elastic, but it doesn't overstretch like I feel 2x2 ribbing often does. It gives it a bit more sturdiness, so it stays up really well. I knit this in probably one of my all-time favorite yarns, which is Sunday by Sandnes Garn. This is the pink, which is their red, and then I also knit it in white, which is their whipped cream color. I used 45 grams of the whipped cream and 21 grams of the red. This yarn is really nice in that it has really low grist. So this one skein, I had two 50-gram skeins, and I didn't even have to break into this second skein of the white. It has 235 meters per 50 grams, which is just ridiculous. And it's also a 6-ply yarn, so it is a worsted worsted spun yarn. They're thin plies and it's very sturdy. I have a couple other pairs of socks in this yarn and it is great. It's non-superwash, it doesn't have any nylon in it, but it's super sturdy. I have very large insteps on my feet, so you can probably see the increase lines here, and or the increase lines here, because these are toe up socks, increase here, and then the decrease here for the gusset. And then this short row, this German short row heel is absolutely enormous. So I added 20 stitches, and then I also, I included all 20 of those stitches in the short row heel. So I didn't do half. I think it ended up being like a full third of the, or not a full third. There was a number, but I don't remember what the number was. But basically, I included I added 20 to the half stitched count, and then I did the German short row heel for all of those. So it's a nice big heel. I probably could have just gotten away with 15, but I didn't want to have to redo it, and it's not really too big. It just fits nicely. So I really like these socks. This is my first time doing a German short row heel, and I didn't do a great job. But no, I didn't do a bad enough job that I wanted to reknit it. This pattern is not out yet. I will share on my Instagram when it is out. But if you're on Instagram, I recommend you check out Niklas. They also have lots of patterns that are already available on Ravelry. And this was a really fun and easy knit. I am definitely going to knit another pair of these socks because I really just, the little tulip heel really gives me a lot of joy to look at it, which I was not anticipating. So I'm very, very happy with these. I also wanted to mention that the one thing that I struggled with this pattern was the color work up here. So for both sections of color work, I switched from the 2.5 millimeter needles that I was using for everything else to a 3 millimeter needle. Just because Niklas recommended it, and I haven't really done much color work in socks successfully. So I went ahead and switched, and it was fine down here, didn't have any issues. But this part doesn't have to fit over my instep, and this part does. This part does have to fit over my instep. So I had to redo this part because the floats were too tight, and so I redid it. I knitted it inside out, super loose, and it looks better after being blocked, and I'm hoping that it will stretch in and like really even out, but it looks really quite wonky on this one that hasn't been blocked yet because I had to do that float management. And so I'm not sure what I'm going to do when I knit these again, because I am going to knit these again because I really like this dot pattern. I might do it in a duplicate stitch, or I might just suck it up and, you know, hope that they block out the same and, you know, really space it out. So we'll have to see how these wear as I continue to wear them. But I really, really, really love these socks. The next finished object that I have, I'm just flipping over my notes, is, excuse me, this hat. It has not been blocked yet. Well, that's not true. The top half, the yellow part, has been blocked. The rest of it has not been blocked. This is the Smoggy City Skyline cap by Elizabeth Rogers of webandrock.com. So it is a free hat pattern, and it is knitted from the bottom up. But the first time I knitted it, even though I tried to be loose with my floats down here, and I haven't had any trouble with colorwork hats before, but those were all over colorwork, and this one is just partly colorwork. So it did not fit my head very well, and it was super stretched out and looked very bad. But I didn't want to have to re-knit a whole hat, so I cut it right about here, and then unraveled this part, and then just knit it in reverse with larger needles. So it was originally knit on 5 millimeter needles, I think. Yeah, 5 millimeter needles. And then when I reknit the color work, I did it on 6 millimeter needles because I couldn't find 5.5 millimeter needles, which is fine. It worked out great. It fits better now. I just need to block it. And then I went back to the 5 millimeter needles for the ribbing. And then I did a Kitchener graft bind off, which I had never done before, which I think looks really nice. It was a little finicky, and I had to like unstitch part of it because I'd made a mistake and then keep going, but it worked really well. This I knit up with Plymouth Yarns Galway worsted, these bad boys, in the color Bark Heather and Yellow. I have a collection of this yarn in particular in a few different colors for working color work hats, because I've been really enjoying color work hats, and I'm going to be using those for a project that I'm going to be talking about in my plans in a few minutes. I am excited about this hat. It is not actually for me. It is part of a craft swap that I am doing with someone on Tumblr. So they have made me a like chainmail necklace. I think they did Byzantine mail, and I made them a hat. And we're gonna, once this is blocked, I'll message them and we'll swap addresses and we'll have a little craft swap, which I'm very excited about. I've never done anything like that before. So those are my two whips, or those are my two finished objects. And I actually only have one whip at the moment, because these are my two main things that I was working on in the month of May, and then I've been waiting to cast something new on because I don't like having too many things on the go. So the other whip that I have at the moment is a long-term whip, and it is a blanket. It is in this big bag, and it is a 10-stitch blanket by, I'm not going to pull the whole thing out of the bag, but it is the 10-stitch blanket by Frankie Brown. So you basically knit 10 stitches of garter stitch around and attach, and you just kind of loop and loop and loop. And I really like the way that it looks. I have a scrappy 10-stitch blanket that I'm making for myself. This one I am making on 5.5mm DPNs, because that's what Very Pink Knits does with hers. And I really like the way that, the ease of it. So I don't have to have big long needles, and I haven't really had any issues with them falling off. And this yarn isn't like super unravelly either. So I am knitting this blanket for my local chapter of Project Linus, which is a nonprofit that crafters can make blankets and donate them to the nonprofit, and then they each chapter distributes them to kids in need in your area. So this will be going to the East Tennessee chapter of Project Linus, and they work with a few shelters and hospitals to give blankets to kids in, not great situations who could do with something homemade and snuggly. So there's, I believe, a lot of quilters do this, but I've just gotten really into blanket knitting. And I don't need that many more blankets, nor do I have family members that really need lots of blankets. And I also really like doing charity work, but I am relatively housebound at the moment with my disabilities and low energy, and I can't do a lot of computer work. So, I can sit and knit in front of the TV, and that's some days all that I can do, and some days I can't even do that. But projects like this allow me to still, give back to my community. And I am knitting this up in two different colors of Big Twist Yarns Rainbow Classic. It is 100% acrylic yarn, which is important because it is machine washable and dryable, which is one of the requirements for Project Linus. So it is in violet and bright pink. I am doing 2 loops of the violet for every 1 loop of the pink, because I have more of the purple than I have of the pink. And then I'm going to do these 2 more loops of the violet. So I'm on the last loop of the violet, and then I'm going to do 1 more loop of the pink. And then on the you know, when you put your blanket on your bed and you've got the top and the bottom? On the top and the bottom, so there'll be a pink border all the way around, and then on the top and the bottom I'm going to do a strip of some texture pattern in the purple, because I want the kid who receives this to be able to easily tell which is like how to orient the blanket on their bed if they're putting it on their bed. And I don't think I'm going to quite get enough length for it to be a good twin size bedspread. So I think it will need that extra length as well. And that's what I'm going for. My chapter needs more big blankets and more blankets for boys. And since I have a lot of this blanket and it's not traditional boy colors, I figured I'd try and make it into a twin size blanket. And then I have some other yarns that are traditional boy colors, but I don't think I have enough to do a bigger blanket, so those will probably be smaller baby blankets. But we'll get there when we get there. So that is my only whip at the moment. And I only have one acquisition, but it is one of the best things pretty much ever. So this is the Sock Quitter BFL kit. So this is yarn from Niklas Heed, who I did the test knit for of the Tiptoe Tulip socks. And it is yarn that they dyed. It is 75% Blue-Faced Leicester superwash and 25% nylon, and I am so excited about it. I was able to pick out the colors, and I did get a discount code because I was test knitting. It did not get here in time for me to knit it up in the pattern before the deadline because it was shipping from Sweden, but the shipping prices were pretty reasonable. I think it was $15 to ship, which compared to things that I've bought that are shipping from US to US, it was, those most recently was I think $9 for shipping. So when I first ordered it, I didn't realize it was coming from Sweden because shipping prices within the continental US are also pretty expensive right now. So I just really love the bright green and the bright purple. Unfortunately, based on the yardage that I calculated that I used up for those socks, because I had to add that big gusset for the heel, I don't think I'll be able to make those socks exactly the same in these colors because I don't have the yardage of the contrast color. So I do want to make Niklas's socks out of their yarn. So I'm either going to maybe edit the color a little bit and not do the contrast heel or something like that, or I might find I think I have another purple that I think I have enough of that's a completely different shade of purple, but then I could have two complementing socks. So one has this bright purple and one has, it's like a darker purple, and it's also a BFL sock yarn. So I might do that. I haven't decided yet, we'll see. But that's in the future because I have other things that are in the queue ahead of that. Speaking of the queue, we're going to talk about my yarn plans next up. So, my goals for this month of June are to fully finish the socks and the Tiptoe Tulip socks and the hat. You know, I still have to block this sock and block the hat, and I wove in the majority of the hat end, but I didn't cut it yet just in case, and then I haven't woven in all the ends on the socks, and then I think I'm going to embroider the washing instructions on the bottom of the sock. That's something I've been trying to do for my wool socks, just so I don't forget that they're not super wash and I cannot put them in the regular washing machine. So I'm gonna do that probably with what I have left of the pink yarn, and just do some duplicate stitch on there for that. So I want to do all that, get those done, and then my next cast on I'm very excited about. I am making a hat for one of my friends from this book. This is 45 Fine and Fanciful Hats to Knit by Anna Zilboorg. I have knit one of these hats already. I got this book for I think $1 at the local used bookstore, and it is the steal of a lifetime. This book is just full of different styles of hats and then charts for how to make them, and all the charts are mix and match. And so you can make tons of different hats. 45 is not all of the different hats you can make. There are tons and tons of different varieties that you can do. They're all Fair colorwork hats. They are not all two-stranded, which I learned the hard way when I made my first hat, and 90% of it was just two colors, and then there was one row in one chart that repeated a couple times where that one row was holding three colors at once. But I powered through and I did that one. But the hat that I am going to be making next is, my next cast on is Touque number 4. So that is this hat. And I'm going to be making it using that Plymouth Galway worsted. I'm not going to be using those colors. Well, I might be using the yellow, but I have some purple and some pink. I have an ordered list of favorite colors from my friend that I'm going to be using to make that hat. And that should knit up pretty quickly, but I also told her I would make it for her like 6 months ago. So I want to get that knit up and sent to her, even though she lives in Texas and won't be able to use it for like another 6 months. But she's very excited about it. And I want to show her my love. And also I just really like knitting with that wool. I've knit with cheaper wools, and the Plymouth is just is really nice on the hand. I really like how grippy and woolly it is without being scratchy. And then my other plan that I have is that to use my electric eel 6.1. I think it's 6.1. I just got, relatively recently got the new and upgraded version of the electric eel e-spinner from Dreaming Robots, and I have some fiber that I've been spinning on a supported spindle, and I want to try out wheel spinning, and this was the one of the most, because he has a slightly cheaper one too, but the most economical, both in terms of energy expenditure for me in the spinning process, and money wise, because I think it was $250 on sale. I got it on the sale like right when he launched the new version. I think it's usually about $300. So I'm very excited about that. It arrived, I think, about a month ago. The box was in perfect condition. Everything was great. And then I let it sit for a little bit because I wasn't ready to figure out how to use it. And then I sat down, watched a bunch of videos, figured out how to use it, put it together, and then I realized that I was missing the power cord and the foot pedal that comes with it. And I was like, oh no, because I just set it all up, and I was like, oh, this is so sad, because I was so ready to spin. But I emailed Maurice, who owns Dreaming Robots, and I was like, hey, it looks like they missed a couple pieces when they were packing my order. Can you get those out to me? Or I can buy them, because I also wasn't 100% sure if I was like, oh crap, maybe I was supposed to buy these separately and just didn't realize. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, replied immediately, sent them out the next business day, and those should be arriving on Wednesday. So I'm very excited to work on spinning, and practice more spinning, because this is my first spinning wheel. And I'm also excited that they have such great customer service, which I was anticipating because I've heard wonderful things about them. But it was just really, really phenomenal customer service, and it's a really, it's 3D printed, but it's very sturdy, and the bobbin's flat pack. It's just great. I'll have the details for it in the description so you can go look at it. It is just a really very economical, but I think still high quality e-spinner, and I'm very, very excited to use it. That's all my plans. I am hoping to get these videos out around the 15th of the following month. So that way I won't be stuck in the, everyone's posting their knitting podcasts at the very end of the month or the very beginning of the month, which is a little overwhelming for me. For the people that I'm subscribed to, it's overwhelming to get everybody post them all at once. And they're usually like an hour long, and I'm like, oh gosh, I can't watch all of these right now. But if I post it in the middle of the month, maybe I'll get some people who need their knitting fix in the middle of the month, and not just at the end of the month, and you're in between, in that lull in the middle. Also, it's impossible for me to be able to do a quicker turnaround to get them out before then. So that's what I'm aiming for. And before we go, I want to do our T4T artist shout out. So this month's shout out has to be Niklas Heed. They have been the song of my month of May, with their socks and the yarn, and I've also knit their, they have a bandana pattern that I knit, which I didn't even realize was theirs until I was like looking at their designer page after I had, started knitting the socks, and I've knit 2 of those bandanas, earlier this year, so I highly recommend them. They are at Niklas Knits on Instagram, and that is, their name is spelled differently because they're Swedish. It is Niklas on Instagram, and then their yarn shop is Quitter Yarns, which is www.quitteryarns.se for Sweden, SE, not .com. The links to that are also on their Instagram for their yarn. They have tons of other yarns too. They have an advent calendar that I think is not sold out. I'm not sure. I don't have the money for an advent calendar, or I would definitely consider theirs. They really, with their patterns and their yarn, really bring a lot of whimsy and color to the world, and also just really are radiating that trans joy, which I'm looking for sharing here, and bringing more of into my life with the things that I consume. So I highly recommend that you go give them a check out, get some of their patterns. They have a couple free patterns. The bandana pattern is free. Get ready for the sock pattern. You are going to want to knit it if you like knitting socks. It's great. The instructions are also great. It was pretty easy to follow, even though I'd never done the German short row heel, and I adapted it. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world because German short row heels are confusing, but I figured it out. I did it. So that's all for me this month. I hope that you are doing well, continue to do well. If you have any trans artist, or you are a trans artist, trans fiber artist, and you want me to give you a shout out or get you on the list for a shout out, get your friend on the list for the shout out, comment below. And also tell me what you're working on. That whole vibe. If you like my stuff, if you hate my stuff, don't tell me if you hate my stuff. I don't want to know. Only like my stuff. But with that, I'm going to turn my air conditioning back on so that I stop sweating to death, and I will see you guys next month. Bye. I really hope that was filming the whole time, or I'm gonna cry.